In order to recover from anxiety and DPDR, you need to go back to living life as normally as possible and allowing the symptoms to exist with you along the way. You don't fight them anymore, you don't fear them anymore, and you engage with life to the best of your ability as normal as possible, allowing them to simply be there alongside you. But as you're living normally again, it's completely normal for your symptoms to fluctuate because you're going to be pushing boundaries and engaging in things that you know very well will make you anxious, like going into a grocery store that has bright lights or exercising or doing things that you would normally do beforehand but now make you anxious. You now make the choices based on what you would normally do or what you would want to do if you didn't feel anxious, and don't let the symptoms dictate your decisions anymore. That's the path to true recovery and freedom. But it's worth noting that life can throw things at us sometimes. And of course, setbacks can happen and often do happen. We can't predict the stressors that might come up into our lives, so it's worth noting that sometimes you may have a setback through your recovery. And if that happens, it doesn't mean you're back at square one. However, it can feel that way because your symptoms can flare up and spike for a little while and feel like you're back exactly where you started the day that this began, and then you can just have this mentality like, okay, I quit now. Obviously, I'll never get out of this. But that's simply not true. If you improved even a little bit, even 5%, 1%, that shows that you can change your state and improve and eventually get out of this. And if you're at the point that you're having a setback, that literally proves that you advanced enough in your recovery to notice a difference when you came back to your old symptoms. That proves that you can actually improve and eventually get out of it. And to be at that stage, you develop new skills, knowledge, and resilience regarding your anxiety. And your nervous system doesn't simply forget the progress that you made overnight. And that holds true even if you had a panic attack or spiraled again briefly. Your nervous system still remembers the progress you made. You simply just have to reintegrate the behaviors and the things you were doing that got you there in the first place. So no, you are not back at square one. You have the tools, the knowledge, the resilience, so you can apply it with whatever symptoms you're dealing with and continue to proceed through your recovery. To conclude, I'm going to give you a little story of what happened to me with my biggest setback. My biggest setback occurred when I developed severe health anxiety about a specific health topic. This progressed over 2 weeks to the point where I eventually went to the emergency room for it. And take note, at this point I had very little DPDR, very little anxiety overall, comparatively speaking, and I wasn't dealing with panic attacks. But all of this spiraled me into insane health anxiety again, insane DPDR again, and frequent panic attacks. At the ER, they basically cleared me, but they still gave me an antibiotic to be safe. And of course, with health anxiety, what did I do? I started to Google the potential side effects of the antibiotic. One of the side effects was a potential deadly arrhythmia. So, of course, after taking the antibiotic, and I only read the side effects after I took the antibiotic, I started to be convinced that I was going to get this arrhythmia. And then when I was worried about that for the next 2 weeks while this was going to have to clear my system, every single day I was checking my heart rate, it would skip a beat, I would start to panic, I would have panic attacks on panic attacks, and while having the panic attacks, I would be convinced that it was the arrhythmia. I fell back into what felt like day one. I was completely sensitized again, completely dissociated again, but guess what? In a matter of a week after that, I was back to the same place I was before that. The setback didn't actually set me back that far. It felt like it did, but my attitude generally didn't change. Overall, I still lived life normally, and I developed habits and knowledge, and I eventually knew what was happening. I just had to break out of the health anxiety loop that I was falling back into. What my experience shows you is that if you have a setback and it feels like you're back at day one, and even if it's for a matter of a couple weeks, it doesn't necessarily mean you're back at square one. You still have the knowledge, you still have the skills, you still have the resilience that you learned that made you progress in the first place. And remember, your nervous system doesn't forget the progress you made overnight. It's up to you to nip it in the bud and start re-engaging in the behaviors that helped you progress further through recovery in the first place. The absolute best thing you can do is look at these situations where you're having a setback or your symptoms are flaring up higher than usual as the perfect opportunity to show your nervous system that it's once again overreacting. In high symptom moments or in setbacks is actually where I made the most progress in my anxiety and DPDR recovery. It gives you the perfect chance to show your nervous system that it's once again overreacting because it's completely watching how you're responding to the symptoms. By you responding correctly, by not panicking, not worrying too much about it, not thinking you're back at square one, you're teaching your nervous system that yes, it's overreacting, and that in the future when stressors like this come your way, not to go this hard on you, not to throw this many symptoms at you. It'll learn that it's ultimately unnecessary and that even if you do deal with stressors, it doesn't need to send you this much symptoms. Recovery truly happens in these hard moments of high symptoms, setbacks, and tough decisions that you need to make for yourself. It doesn't happen in the comfortable, just chilling at home and trying not to think about it. It's literally doing things that you find uncomfortable that you would have normally done before, regardless of how you feel, regardless of how strong the symptoms are. It's by viewing these setbacks and high symptoms as opportunity and living life normally anyway. I promise you that if you're going through a setback right now, you're not back at square one. Even if it was from something like a life stressor or anything, it doesn't necessarily mean you're back at square one. And if you're in the thick of it right now with anxiety DPDR, I do have my completely free DPDR Calm Kit. Just simply DM me and I'll send it to you. It includes 12 mindset shifts that really helped me through my recovery and to change the way that I looked at my symptoms. It also includes some general information on sensitization, anxiety, and DPDR.